Hi, I'm Kelly with DNNDev.com. In this video I'm going to show you how you can quickly create a data-based solution complete with a data entry form and display of that data in a list view as well as a detail view. The solution will also include the ability to add new records and edit and delete existing records. We'll even include some form styling and data entry validation. Now that's a lot to cover, so you better settle in for a few hours of work. Well, actually, we're going to be leveraging the new tools provided in XMod Pro 2. So all of this will only take a few minutes, but you can still tell your boss you spent the weekend slaving away over the keyboard to finish that project. Let's get started. First, we select from the Actions menu, we select the Control Panel. This is new to XMod Pro 2. And in the Control Panel, we have consolidated a number of the administrative tools from previous versions and added a number of new tools too. We've also enhanced those existing tools. We are going to be creating a form and template that is tied to a table we've created in our database today called Contacts, and this is a list of records of first name, last name, address, that sort of thing for individuals. It'll be a fairly basic form that we need to deal with. We could choose the Manage Forms page. To create our form, we could go down to the Quick Form Creator down here in the bottom right of our page and click the Generate Form from Table and click the new form, and it'll create a basic form for us. But we want a few more options in how our form is created, so we're going to go up to the form builder here and we are going to use that instead. It gives us a lot of additional functionality. Let's start by giving our form a name. We'll just call it Contacts. And we need to select our table. These are all tables in the .NET Nuke database. Select Contacts there. Next, we need to select a field in that table that uniquely identifies each record. This is necessary for XMod Pro. It will use this to set up viewing of detail records, and in the case of forms, editing of an existing record. So you want to choose the column in that table that uniquely identifies each record. In our case, this is Contact ID. Contact ID is an identity field, which means that the database automatically generates a new number for each record that is created, which is the case in a lot of tables that you'll be working with. Now down below this, we have a columns in table section, and this lists all of the columns that XMod Pro recognizes from our selected table. And over to the right is the columns in form section, and this is where all of the columns that we want to add to our form will be displayed. To add a column to the form, all we need to do is double click it in the list box and it gets moved over automatically to the columns in form section. Of course, you may not want to click on every single column if you have a lot of them. You could simply click and control click each column that you want and choose Add Selected Columns down here at the bottom to add all of those to the form. If you want to add everything from that table to the form, just simply click the Add All Columns link. And as you can see, the columns have been added to the form. They're not really in the order that we want them in, though. So let's do a little dragging and dropping and change the order. Very simple, easy to do. And now we've got our form in the right order. If we want to remove a column from the form, just simply click this button next to the column name and it gets moved back over into our list box. And we'll move this back up to where it belongs. And moving into the next column in our form canvas, we'll call it, you'll see a series of drop-down list boxes. These are all controls that you can select for each column in your database. XMod Pro actually tries to makes an educated guess as to which control to use for each column based on the data type of that column. In our case, all of our columns will use a text box. But if you had a bit field, for instance, XMod Pro would choose the checkbox control by default. If you had a date time column, it would choose the date input field by default. If you had a in text, a very long, or in access terminology, a memo field, then XMod Pro would choose the text area control for that. One thing I do want to point out here is that the contact ID is an identity field, as I discussed, and it's actually not going to be presented to the user. The user is not going to actually fill in a value because that value is actually generated by the database. But we still want to include it in our form. XMod Pro is smart enough to know that this is an identity field and will not actually include that in the form to be filled out by the user. But you do want to include it in your form. Okay, final column here, a series of checkboxes with the caption required next to them. This is simply a very easy way for you to force the user to enter a value for any given field. So in our example, we'll go ahead and require that first name and last name be required. And we'll click either the top next button, or we can scroll down and we can click the bottom next button. Both of them take us to the same place, and that is the form layout and styling section of our form builder. Let's scroll up a little bit. The first thing I want to point out is the preview section. That is this white area down here. This is actually a live preview of the form. To prove that, let's go back and we'll just remove a field and move address 2 down here to the bottom of our form and click next again. And you'll see the last name has been removed from this form, and address 2 is now at the bottom of our form. Let's go back and correct that. We'll move address 2 back up, and we will re-add last name and move it into its proper position and get back to it. Now in this preview section, a few things, nice things that XMod Pro does for you I'd like to point out. The first is the captions. You'll remember that our column names are one word apiece. First name, last name, address 1, address 2 here. XMod Pro recognizes that the first name is camel case, meaning you have 2 words squished together. Or it's going to think that it's 2 words, and it's going to split those up into 2 distinct words for the caption. It's much more user-friendly and readable by your end users. It will also recognize that you've added a number here to the address field, and it's going to split those apart too. So as we look at our form again, we'll see that first name is 2 words now, last name's 2 words, address 1 and address 2 are also both separated. This is something that is very small, but it saves you an enormous amount of time. Having done a lot of editing, I can tell you that you name your column, your database columns one thing, and then having to go in and even with these tools that auto-generate stuff for you, they don't do this for you. They don't separate things out and give you nice human-friendly captions. So you have to go in there and you spend a lot of time editing these things, and it's subject to typos and all that. So it's one of the things I wanted to add to XMod Pro to make it just easier for you. One of the other things that this form builder will do for you is it's going to try to guesstimate the length of text boxes that you're going to need based upon the maximum number of characters you're going to allow into that field. So the first name column actually allows, I think it's something 25, 30 characters, something like that. So it gives you this width of text box. Address 1 and address 2 both allow more. I think it's it might be 50 characters, something like that. And so you have a larger text box. And the same goes for city, state, which only allows a couple of characters, has a much smaller text box. Now, let's look at the layout a little bit. By default, XMod Pro sets up your form in a 2-column layout with the captions on the left and the controls on the right, as well as the command buttons down there in the right-hand column. You can change this up here at the top in the layout section. You can see we have left-aligned, 2-column layout with left-aligned captions. We can choose a 2-column layout, but we want to right-align the labels. And as you can see, the preview automatically changes to show us our newly selected option. One of the other layout options is to have a more vertical layout in which the labels are placed above the controls. Very nifty. I personally like right-aligned labels, so we'll choose that for this example. But looking at the preview, I see that there's an awful lot of white space here over to the left of each of the captions. Let's fix that now. By default, XMod Pro uses 120 pixels for this particular column. We will set that to, I think 65 is a good value for our column. There. Next up, we can choose a theme for our form. Now, by default, XMod Pro uses the basic .NET Nuke CSS class names. Labels are given the normal bold class name. Text boxes are given normal text boxes. These buttons are given command buttons, etc. And that should work with your skins and containers and their styling. But you can also choose to tell XMod Pro not to include anything, and you'll see that all of those class names have been removed. But one other option you might want to choose is a series of themes that we provided. These are actually jQuery UI based themes. And if you're not familiar with jQuery UI, it is a widget library used for designing user interfaces. You might have a tab strip or a dialog box, things of that nature. And this is all based on the open source free jQuery JavaScript library. And the jQuery UI library, it uses an open source theming engine. You can create your own themes on the jQueryUI.com site, or you can choose one of the ones that we've selected for you here. If you choose to create your own, it's one of the nice things about doing this. If you choose to create your own, you can actually go to their site, generate the theme, and then just upload those files to your website, and they will automatically show up here in this drop-down list box, and you can choose that for all of your forms. Let's just take a look at some of these styles and show you how they affect the form. Blitzer is a very big, bold type of style with a lot of large text. You can see the size of the text boxes has also increased with this new style. Cupertino is much more sophisticated, I think, with a slight blue tint. You may or may not be able to see this, but this is kind of a glossy bluish, light bluish tint, and it has changed the font as well. Some of the others, a darkness, real nice black theme for dark-based sites. LaFrog green-based, and my favorite really is sunny, so let's choose that. I'm from Arizona. That works for me. And you can see the changes automatically reflected in this live preview. One of the benefits you get with the jQuery UI themes is that you have the ability to replace these sharp corners on your form with rounded corners. Much more friendly, comfortable Web 2.0 type of look. And all you have to do is simply check that box. Now, one caveat: this doesn't work on Internet Explorer. It has a lot of things. Maybe one of these days IE will catch up with the rest of the browser world, but in the meantime, you'll see rounded corners in Firefox, Opera, and Safari, and the larger name browsers. But if you are viewing this in Internet Explorer, then they will be standard corners. I like the rounded edges, so I'm going to keep that. One other thing, you remember in the previous page we chose to have first name and last name be required fields. A nice aspect of this live preview is we can click Add here and we can show what the validation is actually going to look like at runtime. It will actually validate it for us. So if we type something in here and tab away, you can see that that validation marker disappears. And if we changed our theme, our validation changes with that theme. Back to the sunny theme. And that's it. Nice tour of the form builder, I think. Really all we have to do is click the Create Form button and we'll generate this form. And XMod Pro tells us it's been successfully created. So we will go up to the Manage Forms page and we will actually not see it here. The reason for that is actually by design. XMod Pro caches a lot of information so that it doesn't have to go back out to the web server all the time and slow down your editing process. But if you've created a new form, all you simply have to do, this also applies to the Manage Templates page, by the way, just go down to the bottom of the grid and click on the Reload Grid button, and it will be reloaded, and you can see that our contacts form has indeed been created. And from here we can edit the form if we wanted to, preview it, etc. Let's move on to the next stage, and that is to create a template for our table. We'll go to the Manage Templates page for this, and in the bottom right here, the Quick Template Creator is where we'll be spending our time. We could just create a template, a basic skeleton, by clicking the New Template button here, but we want XMod Pro to do a lot of the work for us, so we're going to check the Generate Template from Table box and scroll down so we can see. We will select the Contacts table, and just as we did with the form, we need to select Contact ID as our unique ID field. Now we're given the opportunity to choose a type of layout for our list view template. We can choose from grid, which is the table. We can choose a one column table, which is just simply a list of records, but it uses a table for the structure underneath, an HTML table. Sometimes that's easier for people to style. Some of the other options we have are a numbered list or ordered list, a bullet list or unordered list, a series of paragraphs, or a basic list, which is just a series of HTML div tags. We are going to choose bullet list for our example and click New Template. And we can see that XMod here XMod Pro has generated the template with everything that we need in it. We don't have to look at the details of this. That's not really appropriate for this tutorial. We'll just know that it works. All we have to do is give it a name. We'll call it Contacts Bullet List and click Save. And it has been created for us. Now let's see what it all looks like. I have previously added some data to the table so we can see how everything works. We'll just click Exit here to get out of the control panel, and we need to configure our module to use the template and form we just created. So we'll select Contacts Bullet List here for template, and the contacts for the form, close. And we can see a bullet list of all of the records that I've already created for you. And you can see that we get paging by default with XMod Pro. By default, it sets up 10 records per page. And if we want to change that, we can simply edit the template inline here. And you can see the pager tag here. We're going to change that, let's just say, to 5 records per page. Save, and now you can see we have 3 pages, and we can page through those. John Deere, Theodore Roosevelt, and go back to page 1. So all of that is given to you automatically as part of this process. Some of the other features you get, the ability to look at the details of a record. We'll just click the View Details button here, and we can see all the details. It is identified by the details header here, so that we know we're looking at details. We can also edit a record. We can change Martha's record here to George Washington, and we'll update that. And we can see that Martha's changed to George. We can also delete a record. We'll delete Harry Truman here. We'll be prompted to confirm that we actually want to delete that record, and we'll click OK to delete it. And Harry is now gone. So that is that. There's one other thing you can do here. Let's just, since we're here, let's go ahead and, since XMod Pro provides you with all of the columns that you've selected in both your list view and in your detail view template, typically you don't want to do that. XMod Pro figures it's easier for you to just delete some fields from your list view template rather than add all of those in. So it gives you all of the fields at once, and you can just simply go in and edit it. Well, let's just try something else. We'll edit it using the control panel, just to give you a different view here. On the Manage Templates page, we'll find our Contacts Bullet List here, and we will edit it. And we could have edited it in line, but we're just giving you a different view. We'll edit it on the Manage Templates page. And here is the section, the Item Template section. You can see all of our fields, columns listed here. Let's just remove all of them. We'll remove the contact ID, and we'll remove the address, state, city, and zip. And we will update that. One of the benefits in XMod Pro 2 is that we have some data, we can preview this. And we can see, without a lot of the skin styling, we can see basically what everything's going to look like. So we can get a good idea before we actually return to the main page. Now we can see what it looks like in all of its glory. Just your the first and last name are in the list template, and then we can click View Details and see the full details here. And of course, you can modify all of this to your heart's content. It just gives you a nice starting point to do all of this work in. So that does it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you get a lot of value from XMod Pro and the new features and tools that we've added to XMod Pro 2. We've spent a lot of time thinking about how you use the application and ways that we can make your life easier and speed up your production. And we think we've really hit the nail on the head with this one. And we'll, of course, we'll be continuing to enhance and improve XMod Pro based on your suggestions and feedback. Thanks again.